एवरीवन वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज की वीडियो में भी हम प्रोलॉग टू द कैंटरबरी टेल्स का टेक्स्ट डिस्कस करेंगे, लाइंस 613 से 691 तक। पहले की वीडियोस का लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में है। चलिए आज की वीडियो स्टार्ट करते हैं। लाइंस 613 to 622। In youth he learned, had a good mister, he was a well good right a carpenter. This reef sat upon a well good stot that was a bromley grey and high scot, a long surcoat of furs upon he had, and by his side he bore a rusty blade. Of Norfolk was this reef, of which I tell, beside a town men clipping Balswell, tugged he was, as is a friar, about, and ever he rode the interest of our route. In youth he had learnt a profitable trade. He was an efficient worker, he was a carpenter. This reeve rode a very good horse, which was spotted with grey all over its body, and which was named Scott. He wore a long upper coat of a Persian blue colour, and at his side he carried a rusty dagger. This reeve whom I am describing belonged to Norfolk and came from a town called Balswell. He had his long coat tucked up round him by means of a girdle in the manner of a friar, and he always rode last in our group of pilgrims. Line 623 to 668. The unlovely summoner and his unsavory habits. A summoner was there with us in that place that had a fire red cherubim's face. For sauce flame he was with iron narrow and hot he was, and lecherous as a sparrow. With scaled brows, black and piled beard of his visaged children were afeared, their nas quicksilver litharge, nor brimstone, boris cereus, nor oil of tartar none, nor ointment that would cleanse and bite, that him might helpen of his velkis white, nor of the knobs sitting on his cheeks. Well loved he garlic, onion, and eke leeks, and for to drink in strong wine red as blood, then would he speak and cry as he were wood. And when that he well drunken had the wine, then would he speak no word, but Leighton. A few terms had he, two or three, that he had learned out of some decree. No wonder is he heard it all day, and you know well how that a jay can clap in what as well as can the Pope. But whoso could in other things him grope, then had he spent all his philosophy. I question, quid juris, would he cry he was a gentle harlot and a kind, a better fellow, should men not find he would suffer for a quart of wine, a good fellow to have his concubine a 12-month and excuse him at the full privily a Finch could he pull, and if he found over a good fellow in such a case of the archdeacon's curse. But if a man's souls were in his purse, for in his purse he should by punished be. Purse is the archdeacon's hell, said he, but well, I wot he lied right indeed of cursing ought each guilty man to dread, for curse will slay, right as Asolane saveth, and also were him of significant. In Dungar had he, at his own voice, the young girls of the diocese, and knew their counsel, and was all their read. A garland had he set upon his head, as great as it were for an ale stake. A buckler had he made him of a cake. There was a summoner with us in that place. His face was red like fire, as an angel's face, silent. He had pimples all over his face. He had narrow eyes, and he was passionate fellow, constantly desiring sexual indulgence like a sparrow. He had black brows, which were infected with manage or rich, and he had a shaggy beard. Children felt afraid on seeing His face there was no quicksilver, lead oxide, brimstone, borax, white lead, cream or tartar or any cleansing and disinfectant ointment that could cure him of his white pimples or of the lumps of flesh in his cheeks. He was very fond of garlic, onions, and also Luke's. He loved to drink strong wine, red colored like blood. After drinking, he would talk and shout as if he had gone mad. When he had drunk wine heavily, he would not speak any language except Latin, of which he knew just two or three words which he had picked up from some legal document, and no wonder, because he had heard those words all day long and thus memorized them. And you yourself know how a J learned to speak the name Water or Walter as distinctly as the Pope can, but if anyone put him a question or some other subject, he could make no reply because all his knowledge of Latin was limited to those two or three terms. He would constantly repeat the Latin phrases, which means the question and what law applies. He was a gentle kind of companion. Then if he were given a quart of wine by some good fellow, he would have been prepared to allow that fellow to keep a mistress for 12 months and would have excused him fully for this sin. But he was also capable of taking undue advantage of a girl. That is, he would seduce a girl if he got the opportunity, and if he found anywhere a good fellow, he would teach him not to feel afraid of the archdeacon's curse excommunication unless that fellow believed that his soul resided in his purse, for in his purse, not in his soul, was he to be punished. This is by paying a good round sum of money the fellow could release himself from the archdeacon's curse. But I know it well that in this matter he undoubtedly told a lie. The fact is that guilty men should feel terrified of excommunication for 40 days within his jurisdiction. The summoner had control over the young girls of his district. He knew their secrets and was their adviser. On his head he wore a garland which was as large as the pole projecting from an alehouse. A round loaf of bread served as his buckler. Line 669 to 691. With the disgusting summoner and is his friend, his singing partner, and possibly his lover, the even more corrupt partner. With him there rode a gentle partner of Ronceville, his friend and his compeer, that straight was come from the court of Rome, full loud. He sang, "Come hither, love to me." This summoner bore to him a stiff Burdown was never trump of half so great a sound. This partner had hair as yellow as wax, but smooth it hung as does a strike of flax. By ounces hung his locks that he had, and therewith he his shoulders overspread. But then it lay by colpins one by one, but hood for jollity, wearied by none, for it was thrust up in his wallet. Him thought he rode all over, all of the new jet, dishevelled, save his cap, he rode all bare. Such glaring iron had he as a hair, a vernicle had he sweet upon his cap. His wallet lay before him in his lap, breadful of pardons come from Rome, all hot. A voice he had as small as hath a goat. No beard had he, nor never should he have. As smooth it was as it were late by shave. I trow he were a gelding or a mare. With him there rode a gentle partner, that is a trafficker in papal partner or indulgence. The partner who was the summoner's friend and comrade belonged to Ronceville, a convent near Charing Cross in London. He had come, according to his own version, directly from the Pope's court at Rome. In a very loud voice he sang the song, "Come hither, love tomb." The summoner joined him in singing the song with his strong, deep sounding voice. Never was there a trumpet, his sound of which was ever half as loud as the singing of the summoner. The partner had us as yellow as wax, but its hang were as smooth as does a coil of flax. The few locks he had hung down thinly and were covered his shoulder, but his locks were very thin and lay on his shoulders in small bunches here and there, but he wore no hood to amuse himself, because his hood was packed in his bag. He believed that he rode according to the latest fashion, with his hair loose and bareheaded, except for the cap which he wore. He had a shining eyes like a hare's. He had a small picture of Christ when upon his cap. His bag lay before him on his lap. The bag was full to the brim with papal indulgences, which he claimed he had just brought straight from Rome. He had a voice as tiny as a goat's. He had no beard, nor was he likely ever to have one. His face was as smooth as if he had just been shaved. I believe that he was either a castrated horse or a mare. थैंक यू। आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको पसंद आई। कैसी लगे हमें कमेंट करके बताएं, और अगर कोई डाउट्स सजेशंस है तो वो भी आप हमें कमेंट सेक्शन में बता सकते हैं। अगर वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माई चैनल। मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे। टिल देन कीप वॉचिंग एंड कीप सपोर्टिंग द सोलफुल डायरी। थैंक यू।